Well, as the US-Israeli war on Iran continues, Türkiye has been at the centre of a delicate balancing act, offering to mediate between the US and Iran while trying to keep the region from slipping into a widening war. From back-channel diplomacy to high-level talks with world leaders, Ankara has worked to prevent escalation, even as missiles and drones brought the conflict near its borders. Kubra Akkoç takes a look now at how Ankara has been navigating high-stake tensions.
Sharing more than 500-kilometer-long border with Iran, a major US ally and NATO's second-largest army, Türkiye holds a unique position when it comes to tensions between Washington and Tehran, a position that was once again reiterated by Turkish President in his initial response to the US-Israeli war on Iran.
We feel deep sorrow and concern over the American-Israeli attacks against our neighbor Iran, which began with Netanyahu's provocations. For a long time, we have made serious efforts to resolve disagreements through dialogue at the negotiating table. During this period, in particular, I have held telephone conversations with Mr. Trump, Mr. Pezeshkian. Other countries in our region likewise did everything within our power. However, a crisis of confidence between the parties cannot be overcome. And because of Israel's continued efforts to poison the process, the desired outcome cannot be achieved.
Ankara has long pledged to mediate between the US and Iran to diffuse tensions and avoid a regional war. Just over a month ago, Iran's top diplomat was in Istanbul, hosted by Turkish Foreign Minister, who said at the time was also actively engaging with Americans. Potential talks in Istanbul looked possible, and for a while, a deal felt closer than ever, until it wasn't. While deploring the US-Israeli assault on Iran and conveying condolences for the killing of late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, Ankara described Tehran's response of targeting Gulf nations, also Turkey's friends, as unacceptable.
Most Gulf countries worked hard to prevent this war. I witnessed it myself. Even an hour before the attack, Qatar's Prime Minister was still trying to stop it, engaging in efforts that could have worked in Iran's favor. Despite that, Iran chose to bomb mediator Oman and Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, without any distinction. In my view, that is a very wrong strategy that significantly raises the risks in the region.
Then came another pivotal moment. Ankara said on March 4th that a missile fired from Iran was heading towards Turkish airspace, and that it was shot down over eastern Mediterranean by NATO air defense systems. NATO condemned the incident, pledging full support for Türkiye. The US Secretary of Defense said it doesn't trigger NATO's Article 5, which obliges member states to take action in defense. Iran denied firing missiles towards Türkiye, but fears of the war widening grew.
We never leave our border and airspace security to chance. As in this morning's incident, we are taking every precaution in close consultation with our NATO allies and intervening immediately when necessary. We are issuing the strongest warnings to prevent similar incidents from happening again. Our determination and capacity to ensure the security of our country is at the highest level.
A day later, Türkiye condemned drones fired from Iran that fell in Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan enclave and urged an immediate halt to the war. And since it began, from holding calls with President Trump and Gulf leaders to Iranian foreign minister and European partners, both President Erdogan and Foreign Minister Fidan have been leading intense diplomatic efforts, calling all sides to show restraint and resolve issues peacefully. Kubra Akkoç, TRT World.
Well, our diplomatic correspondent Hassan Abdullah joins us live now from Ankara. Hassan, good to see you. Just tell me, how does Türkiye see this war and the developments over the past week?
Well, Enda, there are concerns here in Ankara about the direction of this conflict. The assessment in Ankara is that both sides, the Americans, the Israelis, as well as the Iranians, they appear to be climbing up the escalation ladder. And Ankara believes that this could have effects, very negative effects for the region and potentially beyond. So that is a matter of concern, and there are repeated calls from Ankara for all sides to resort to diplomacy. When you speak to Turkish officials, they say that the Turkish position was evident even before the Americans and the Israelis had targeted Iran. The Turkish side had been expressing concerns about the saber rattling that was being witnessed, and they're saying that they were supporting the talks in Oman, they were offering to host talks in Istanbul, and they were saying that the only way forward can be through talks with realistic demands from both sides and a compromise reached on that. So they're saying that their position remains the same at this point in time. They're saying it's important that the two sides engage even in indirect talks at this point in time, try to de-escalate the situation, because hard power, according to Turkish position, is not really going to achieve much, and the concern that this is escalating remains there. So the Turkish officials are saying that they are there, they're willing to offer indirect talks to the warring parties, and they see this as the ultimate way forward.
Hassan, talk to me about the attack on Azerbaijan. How does that impact Turkish threat perceptions?
Well, the threat perception was basically that, Azerbaijan is just a backyard of Türkiye. So, of course, there was a national security concern for Türkiye. But at the same time, Azerbaijan is one of the closest allies of Türkiye. So, shortly afterwards, we had Turkish President Erdogan talking to his Azerbaijani counterpart, President Ilham Aliyev, and offered support that Turkey is going to stand with Azerbaijan whenever needed, and he condemned the attack, and both sides rejected the suggestion from Tehran that it was somehow not behind those attacks. But at the same time, when you speak to Turkish officials here, they say that while they're concerned about Tehran potentially expanding the war theater, they're also concerned about some of the rhetoric coming from some Western leaders, in which they're talking about a religious war. They're framing it in such a way, according to Turkish officials, that the rhetoric is very anti-Muslim, anti-Islam. So the assessment here is that that is also going to make the situation worse. So really, the calls from here are that all parties need to de-escalate the situation and try to work out a compromise that would perhaps provide both sides with face saving as well.
Hassan Abdullah live for us there from Ankara. Thank you. Well, let's return to our correspondent Reza Hatami in Tehran. Reza, how are the Iranian attacks on neighbouring states affecting regional security, do you think?
Well, Iran had warned that if the United States and Israel attack it this time, the war will not be limited to Iranian soil only. This warning was issued by Iran's highest authority at the time, late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. He said that if the United States and Israel attack Iran, it could lead to a regional war. And here we are, Iran attacking almost basically all of GCC countries. It is attacking Iraq, Jordan, and Iran wants to raise the stakes for this conflict. Iran wants, by doing these attacks, wants to pressure the United States into stopping this aggression. We know that Iran is also attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Today, the fourth fourth attack against a ship in the Strait of Hormuz in the nearby area has been reported. The flow of tankers and vessels at this strategic waterway to the south of Iran has been severely hampered. This has led to a rise in global energy prices. And Iran, this is exactly what Iran wants. Tehran wants regional countries to pressure the United States into agreeing to a ceasefire, and also wants to use the rising global energy prices as a pressure against Trump to stop this war. Because this is how Iran views it. It views this war as an existential threat, and that is why its retaliatory strikes have been so intense.
And Reza, what reaction has there been from Iranian officials on the missile incident over Turkish airspace and also the missile in Azerbaijani territory?
Well, Iranian reaction towards both these incidents have been similar. Iran has said that about Turkey, the armed forces issued a statement saying that Iran had not fired that missile without providing explanation that where did this missile come from. However, they denied sending a missile over the Turkish airspace, saying that Tehran respects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Turkey. And of course, over the course of the past few days, when this war started, Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi has held phone conversations with his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan. Basically, Fidan offering condolences over the assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, offering condolences over the over the massacre of school children in the southern town of Minab. So basically, the two countries enjoy good relations, and Turkey has had also offered to mediate between Iran and the United States ahead of this war. We know in early February it was scheduled that Tehran and regional countries together with the United States hold a meeting in Turkey to discuss Iran's nuclear program and to prevent a war. So Turkey has made so many efforts to mediate between Tehran and Washington. And Turkey responded to the missile downed over its airspace by summoning the Iranian ambassador, and that was all up to now. But about Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan's reaction has been much more strong, I would say. The country is evacuating its embassy staff from Iran. It has halted trade traffic at its border with Iran. And Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has said that Azerbaijan will retaliate this attack. And the country has deployed military along the border. But Iran, again, about Azerbaijan, it said that it wasn't us. The drone that was fired at Nakhchivan was not fired by Iranian armed forces. Tehran says it is investigating it, it is looking into it. And in a phone conversation between Araghchi and his Azerbaijani counterpart, Ceyhun Bayramov, Araghchi said that this could be a false flag operation by Israel. But apparently Azerbaijanis are not buying this and are making strong reactions, making strong criticisms against Tehran.
Reza Hatami live for us in Tehran. Thank you so much. Our correspondent Ilyas Avcı now joins us live from Turkey's border with Iran. Ilyas, you've been there for a couple of days now monitoring the situation at the border. Just bring us up to speed with what's been going on.
Well, and the situation on the border has been pretty normal ever since this war has started. The initial concern was there of a large influx of Iranian refugees trying to come to Turkey, but that did not happen. Iranians didn't feel like fleeing their country, so it has remained pretty normal. 4 days ago, the two countries, Iran and Turkey, have suspended day trips on these borders. So right now, only Turkish nationals and nationals of third countries can come into Turkey from the Iranian side, and Iranians can enter the Iranian side from the Turkish border. So as I said, it's been pretty normal. Today we've seen some third nationals on this side of the border. Many of them were Chinese, and also we've seen some Thai folks. They were probably on their way to their country, fleeing the war that's going on over there. So as I said, it's been pretty quiet. The scene has been just like as it was before the war. Of course, the nature of the crowd moving in and coming out of the border has changed. Now it's not, people aren't coming here for their daily trips, but they are coming in and moving to the other side to be with their families, to go to their hometowns. And
Ilyas, just briefly, tell us, how are locals feeling there? How concerned are they?
Well, actually have spoken to a lot of locals on this side of the border, and I asked them if they are concerned about their security. Do they feel any threat to their security? And they say that they're not really concerned, but they are concerned for the Iranians, the people on the other side of the border. They say that, Iranians have had, they felt they had a very tough life, especially over the past year, starting with the 12-day war last year, and then the country's response to the protests, and now they're seeing another war. So it's been a pretty tough, and they are feeling, the Turkish people over here are feeling a sympathy, and they have their empathy towards the other side of the people on the other side of the border. And
Ilyas Avcı live for us on Turkey's border with Iran. Thank you so much. Well, as the war continues to spill beyond Iran's borders, the NATO chief Mark Rutte has reiterated the alliance's commitment to its allies. Rutte's comment follows Wednesday's incident where an Iranian missile was downed by NATO defences as it headed into Turkish airspace.
NATO air missile defense was able to take it out. So that was very important. It also shows you, I think, clear evidence that we, with a 360-degree approach, we will defend every inch of NATO territory. Our military are constantly on it. But of course, this was serious and absolutely condemnable. Nobody's talking about Article 5. And the most important thing is that our adversaries have seen yesterday that NATO is so strong and so vigilant, and even more vigilant if possible since Saturday because of the situation, of course, in the Middle East. So they see and know and sense that our military are on this.
Well, joining me here now in our Istanbul studio, I'm delighted to say I have Özden Zeynep Oktav with me. She's a professor of international relations at Istanbul Medeniyet University. Özden, talk me through Turkey's current defence capabilities and indeed readiness after that missile was intercepted.
Yeah. Turkey in the latest years, as you know, very much progressed on the defense technology. And so it also cooperates with the neighboring countries by selling these vehicles. But during this the Israeli-American attacks on Iran, Turkey is very confident that it has a very well-equipped army and the defense technology, and hope we will have a war plane as well, the Khan, you know. And so Turkey and the Turks are very confident and feel safe right now. But besides this, Turkey is a NATO country, NATO member country. This is also another important factor making us feel safe at our country. This is also a very important point because Iran, one of the missiles fell in Hatay Dörtyol very recently. Iran just openly mentioned that they did not send this missile to Turkey. But this is maybe by accident, but this is also another sign of threat for Turkey as well as for Azerbaijan and all the neighboring countries. Unfortunately, this is very damaging war, not only to Iran, but all the neighboring countries as well.
And Özden, Turkey is continuing to call for restraint right now in the region. What role do you think Turkey could play in terms of easing tensions and de-escalating everything?
Yeah. Turkey, for years and years, even before the Arab Spring, always wanted to be a bridge between the neighboring countries in the Middle East and the West. And the diplomacy and the mediations, Turkey very much willing and very much enthusiastic to play such a role, mediator role, I mean. But unfortunately, Iran showed a reluctance towards Turkey's mediation role so far. Unfortunately, very recently, it preferred the negotiations to be held in Oman, as you know. Unfortunately, since the beginning, I mean the beginning of the 2000s, Turkey always wanted to have rapprochement with Iran in every area, economics and defense technology, and every area. But Iran, unfortunately, saw Turkey as a competitive country, not a rival country, not a friendly country. Maybe its NATO identity, I mean, the Turkey's NATO identity also made Iran such a feeling, I mean, the not friendly, never saw Turkey as friendly. But this became very costly to Iran because for a long time Iran has been ruled very in a very bad way. I mean, not efficiently. You know, the democracy and everything very much made Iran backwards when compared with Turkey, and therefore now at this point we are witnessing a very damaging war and destabilized region right now.
Özden, talk to me about Turkey's view of Israeli aggression. How do you think Ankara sees everything that Israel is doing and the potential for this to go even further?
Yes, since the Gaza tragedy, Turkey and Israel very much at bad terms with each other. Very recently, I mean, a few days before the outburst of this Gaza problem, Netanyahu and Erdogan would come together and Israel, Turkey would be in better terms with each other. But unfortunately, this problem came out and many people, including the babies, were killed by Israel. And so this now Turkey and Israel are very much, I mean, there is no possibility of their coming together closer, but the Israeli aggression unfortunately is accelerating, increasing, and not only to Iran, in my opinion, to all the neighboring countries. And Turkey feels threatened by Israel because of the statements of the Israeli officials and the very important officials, including the foreign minister, defense minister. And so this is not a good portrait of the situation right now, because for years Turkey and Israel always became friendly with each other. During the 1990s, Turkish army was equipped very well owing to Israel and coped with the American and European Union sanctions because Israel helped Turkey very much in armament and the equipment and of its own army. But now, with this Netanyahu's government, it looks impossible for Turkey and Israel come to get closer with each other, unfortunately.
Professor Özden Zeynep Oktab from the University of Medaniyet, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.